Welcome to Building My Legacy podcast. This podcast is designed for leaders and entrepreneurs who want to leave a legacy and will provide strategies that focus upon key elements for legacy creation, determining your desired impact and its benefit, increasing your legacy's reach by engaging key stakeholders, planning, prioritizing, and executing. Here's your host, Dr. Lois Sonstegard.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lois Sonstegard, and I am here today with Sajid Islam. And I am so delighted to bring him to you because he has done some very interesting things outside of what he's doing professionally. So he has his career. He works in terms of developing the career that he has here in the U.S., but he also has put together an incredible process to give back to his home community in Bangladesh. He's building a legacy, and he's doing it while he's doing his work. He's not waiting until he's retired. And so I find that just really exciting. And many people will ask me, when do you begin to start building your legacy? Well, I think Sajid is a great example of when you begin. So Sajid's background is he came from working with enterprises most recently, dealing with being their manager for their global teams as their support person. He has put together systems and processes around the world, and especially in developing countries. So I am going to let Sajid introduce himself further. Then we'll talk a little bit about what he's doing in Bangladesh. And I think you will be just so amazed. Hopefully it will open some ideas in your mind as to what it is that you might be able to do as well. So Sajid, please introduce yourself. Tell us what you would like us to know about you.
Sure. Thank you, Lois, for the opportunity. It's good to be here. So first thing, I would want you all to know right now what I'm doing, and then I'll take a step back and kind of talk about, how I ended up doing what I'm doing, and then probably a little bit of more backstory of, where I came from. So obviously you touched on, I was born in Bangladesh. I lived there for the first 17 years. Then I came here to the US at the age of 18, and, for education, I've started doing, I went through college. I did both my bachelor's and master's degree. And then, I graduated, I started working for Silicon Valley company. And now what I'm doing right now is I am launching a marketing agency. So that will handle customer acquisition for small to medium-sized businesses. And prior to this, what I did was in Bangladesh was I was back in 2013, I was looking to do something different for the country where I was born, right? And I didn't want to do something that everyone does, which is either build an offshore office or send money through an NGO. But I wanted to do something that will become a platform and will help people rise up to the level they can rise up to. And through a lot of, thinking, talking to a lot of people, I realized that there is a need for a platform where the next generation of the youth can come together, learn entrepreneurship, and also work together and build a community that supports themselves, right, and helps each other. And that answer led me to creating this, co-working space called Hub Dhaka in Dhaka, Bangladesh in 2013. And I've been running that. And during the course of, running that operation of Hub Dhaka, a problem that I came across was marketing, right? Marketing was a huge pain point for us at that point because I come from a tech background and didn't really spend much time in marketing. However, in every marketing agency that we spoke to, or every marketing agency that I've worked with or we worked with, we found that there was always something that's missing, right? It's either they're super expensive, that's something we could not afford, so we'd have to say no to those agencies, and the ones that we ended up working with, and most of them were like, it was very opaque process, right? And me being me, opaque, yes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So, it was not very clear. It wasn't very transparent. And I believe in transparency, right? I believe in, if we are paying an agency and they're doing something, we should have access to that data, and we should have access to the numbers, and not just like a distilled form of data that they present to us on a monthly basis. So that, that challenge led me to ask this question is like, how hard can this digital marketing be? Especially it's all digital, it's riding on the tech platform, right? Digital marketing is basically sitting on top of tech. So why can I not build my own team and do our own marketing? Why do we have to outsource it to outside? And obviously sometimes, you do not know what you do not know, and you end up, embarking on another process. So here I was like, launching and running Hub Dhaka, which itself is a startup. And then I said, within this startup, we're going to go build our own marketing team, and we're going to build that thing so that team so that we don't have to go and outsource it to someone else.
Right.
Well, that was a fantastic journey, very, very challenging, because, along the way, we learned a lot. And then when we were doing this implementations, all of my friends were asking me, how we are getting the results we are getting, and why they are also suffering, or what they're going through the same pain points that I did. So they asked me for help. I started looking at their accounts, and then one thing led to another. And then I realized, there is a big need for marketing as well. This marketing, so started working on a consulting project basis with, just within my circle, as in, hey, I'll go take a look at the marketing campaign. Sometimes, we would actually design and launch their campaigns and manage it as well. And that led me to back in 2017, where I realized, we should just do it full time as well, have just a full-fledged marketing agency that's separate, decoupled from our co-working space, and just run marketing as well. So now I'm running actually two businesses, which is one, Hub Dhaka co-working space in Bangladesh, and now, an awesome digital, it's a marketing agency that, focuses on customer acquisition and the whole life cycle when it comes to marketing.
Got it. So Hub Dhaka, is it a marketing company? What does it do?
So Hub Dhaka is it's a co-working space. So co-working space, if I were to, to explain to you a little bit, it's similar to, if you're familiar with WeWork or any of this co-working shared workspace environment, which is oftentimes people want to startups or small entrepreneurs or independent professionals would like to work in an office space, in an office environment, because they don't want to be surrounded with other similar people. Now, going and getting a commercial space just for a 1 to 5 person team is very expensive. So what we do is we have taken this whole commercial space, and we kind of sell, or not sell, but we kind of have chunks. So if you have a 3 person team, you take a 3-desk office, so that way you are still part of a bigger community surrounded by entrepreneurs or other professionals, but yet you didn't have to break the bank when it comes to getting a commercial space, furnish it, manage it, and things like that.
Got it. So what do those people do? Do you help them also with the work that they develop? Or what is the process? I mean, what brings them to want to work in a hub environment?
So thank you. Great question. So one thing is, obviously, first thing we know that brings them is because they're looking for a office space / commercial work, or a work environment, a professional work environment. Mm-hmm. So that's first. Number 2 is we have different tracks. Right now, we are testing a track where not only they're getting office space, but they're also getting monthly coaching / mentorship from me personally, just because, I happen to have the experience of working both here in the United States and 4 other continents, plus being in Bangladesh. So, I kind of shared some light to them, how they could approach a client or how they should launch their business and things like that. The other program that we have done and we do sometimes is we do a pitch contest or an entrepreneurship program where we would probably, select a group of entrepreneurs, and then we would run them through a 6 to 8 weeks course where we teach them everything from market research to, marketing to, finding, launching a minimum viable product to market, and getting a few customers on signed up, and getting the feedback, things like that. So that's like what we call it, a mini accelerator program, where we bring in entrepreneurs or people who are looking into entrepreneurship. We kind of guide them. Then the second program, in the middle I touched on, is we're planning to start, or we're going to start right now, is the coaching program, monthly coaching to our members. And the first one is the I just need an office space to be surrounded by like-minded people, and I don't want to work from home anymore because this is distracting.
Got it. How many people work with you right now?
Are you asking it how many people in my team or just in general?
In Bangladesh, how many clients have you helped in this process? It's fascinating.
So far, it is actually, Louis, but so far we have been able to touch about 50 unique businesses. And I'm not counting the employees or anything else. So to us, or to me, the measurement is each new business that either gets, launched because of our space or because of our support, or because, they were at a inflection point where they needed the space or they needed that platform, and they came to us and we kind of helped them kind of get to that next level.
How much? You're doing an incredible amount. Doing coaching plus teaching how to do marketing is, to me, that's very intensive work. How much time do you find that you spend going back to Bangladesh to keep the process going, to keep development going? Can you do some of that virtually? And just how have you gone about it?
So, great question. So initially I was spending a lot of time on the ground, right? I was I was going to Bangladesh 6 to 8 times a year. And so that the way I would structure my trips is I would take the last week and a half of a month, the last week of January and the first week of February, and I would couple that so that way I'm there for 2.5 weeks, and then again I will skip 3 weeks, and then I will go back again towards beginning of March. So I was going back and forth a lot, right? And I was probably I was sleeping on the plane. It's just a lot of travel back and forth. And the reason I was doing it initially, early on, it was very important for me to be on the ground. And the reason why I had to come back was my family is here. My wife and my kids are here. I also, at that point, I was still working. I still had a corporate job or job with the enterprise company. So I still had to come back. But like you touched on early on at the beginning of our, discussion, is that I didn't wait till I retired to start doing something as building a legacy. And at that point, I didn't think of I was going to build a legacy. At that point, my thing was, I just want to do something different. I want to give back, right? And how do I give back? And that's the only thing I knew was, hey, why don't I create this platform called Hub Dhaka, where entrepreneurs and youth are going to come together and work together and help each other out. But now I can talk about this. And so I was going back and forth a lot, 6 to 8 times a year, working, I would say, about 17 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's now that I've built the process, now that I've built the system, I don't go there as often, just because, the team is there. We are, just following the process, and we are tweaking process as things come up. And, I run most of the stuff virtually.
Got it. So given what you've done and your passion really for giving back, what do you dream about? What do you dream that, 40, 50, 60 years from now, when people look back at Sajid Islam, what will they say? What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for who someone who was, who believed that, there is, I'm to think. So, everyone can make a difference, right? You don't have to be the next president or the next military chief to make a difference. Someone common, someone like, general person can also make a difference. Just touch someone similar to you and make a difference. We don't have to aspire to, win the next election to wait for a change, right? Change starts with us. So I want to live this. My dream is that I hope I inspire people to pay it forward, to give back. And, they realize that, if he could start this, when, for Louis, for me, life was great and still is. I mean, knock on wood, I have everything that I could have ever asked for, right? I came from Bangladesh. When I came here, I came with 2 suitcases, and now I have pretty much, a lifestyle, a home, cars, everything. But, I didn't want to stop there. I didn't want to just consume and pass away without, touching some people's life and showing, it is possible. It's hard work, but it is possible. And, we humans are built for purpose. So, my dream is I hope I inspire a few other people to do the same thing as I have done or I'm doing, so that, the world becomes a better place.
It's incredible. What are the biggest challenges you faced personally as you've gone about this journey? Anything that it stands out particularly?
A lot. In fact, I am writing a book right now, and it's touching on the 5 things I wish I knew when I started in Bangladesh. First of all, I'm writing it still. I haven't shared a lot with you, so you are probably the first person outside my inner circle to find out about it. And the only reason is people should not have to go through the same process that I have gone through, right? Sleepless nights, stress, a lot of things. So in terms of challenges, I think the first challenge was, and probably it was also my level of understanding was, I was born in Bangladesh, I grew up in Bangladesh, so I was there for the first 17 years of my life. So I speak the language. I have, my immediate family is there. However, because I was out for so long, I didn't really have a friend circle, and I didn't have a lot of professional network in place, right? So I just I dove in. It's it's somewhat of me jumping off the cliff and then trying to build a parachute as I'm going down. So challenges wise, I wish I was a little bit more, slowed down a little bit, understood the culture. Right. Again, like I touched on, I've worked in so far 5 continents, and when I was in enterprise or corporate world, and I thought I've seen it all, but I was wrong. Being Bangladesh, which is a very different society, even the next neighboring country is India. There is a big, culture-wise, they're 2 different countries, right? 2 totally different cultures in terms of mindset, things like that. So that created a problem, because here I come from the US, where I've lived 20 some years, and I pretty much, I'm Americanized. I have the Western, work style, Western philosophy, Western style of management. And I go in there and there's a big clash, culture clash, right? And people in Bangladesh do not generally say things out in your face like we may see here in the US. So people kind of stay quiet. They don't like to raise their hands, share things. So there was a big learning curve right there, right? So that was a challenge. The other thing is, there are not enough system and processes in the country itself just to get things done. Takes a while. And it's just something had to be built into the timeline, which I didn't know at that point, which means we had a construction crew working day and night, right? And again, if I can just share the thing, when I decided that I'm going to build Hub Dhaka, I figured out, I'm going to have this grand vision. I had this grand vision where I'm going to take up this empty commercial space, which is nothing but just a roof, build everything out, and then have it ready by March of 2014. And our first event is going to be a startup weekend event, which is like a 54-hour event where youth comes in and we kind of, do a crash course on entrepreneurship. So not only I think I have a bad habit of, biting more than I can chew, or probably me saying things, and me kind of saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and we announce it, and then, I'm like, I'm on the hook and I have to do it. But either way, I didn't want to, change the date of the event. That was a non-negotiable, which basically meant that, we had to get the construction done, which basically meant overcoming all the other logistical challenges that I had, like, things, workers do not show up on time, they don't want to work their full 8 hours, and, everything around it. So those were some of the challenges in terms of, and also I think, hiring. Hiring was a big challenge as well, just because I was looking for people that I'm used to of working in the US and around the world, right? And Bangladesh being Bangladesh, it is a different culture, different, mindset. We were not matching. So it was like hiring took a long time, finding people and then onboarding them and kind of training them. It's just some things, if I have to go back, and probably the book will help anyone who's looking to go back or give back into Bangladesh, would probably help them, and these are some of the things you need to think about and make sure that, you have this points covered before you kind of, launch anything or announce anything officially.
Always there's a learning, isn't there?
Absolutely, every day. Even now, I learn every day, and I think I sometimes I'll say, "Oh, I've seen it all," but then next thing I know, I blink and I see something new I've never seen before.
It's amazing. So we have talked for some time now, and before we end, I just would like to know anything else that you would like to share about your experience or about building a legacy, a process that you use, or what you would like to leave as thoughts for people to think about.
Right. So first thing, I would like people to think about is you have to ask yourself why, right? And, the why you are doing what you're doing. Why does it matter? Right? Why would you want to, some people would say, legacy, that sounds too, grand, and probably I'm not there yet, I'm young, but you want to start thinking of, how can you bring a change into this world, right? And what role can you play to bring that change? And start there, start small. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow may not come, right? One regret I have is that why did I not start sooner? Right? Why did it take me all these years to start in 2012 or 2013? So start where you are. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity, and do, whatever you can. And sometimes, it may feel like, your effort is so small that it's going to go unnoticed, but trust me, it will change that one life you touch. And, there are times, I will tell you, there are businesses in Bangladesh now that are employing 20 plus people, and they got started only because I took the effort to go down and host a pitch contest, like in a business idea pitch contest, right? And that brought ideas to other people's mind. And this guy, he started an app development company in Bangladesh, and now he has 20 plus employees. So wow. Look at, I'm serious. That's what, Lois gives me the joy. And, he comes and tells me that, Sajid, and in Bangladesh, they address seniors as bhai. So they say, Sajid bhai, if you hadn't done that contest, I was a student about to graduate and I was going to go work. But now I've started my company and we have all these employees. Right. And going in, I didn't think of that, Louis. All I thought was like, let me open their horizons. Let me give them an opportunity. Let me present it and see what they do. So I think, sometimes when we think of legacy, we would probably start thinking like, oh, I have to do this. I have to become the next billionaire. I have to be I would change the question to like, what can I do now to change a life, right? And whatever it is, whether it's climate change or, anything in your community, anything in your neighbor, and, you will automatically find the next step and move on from there.
It's incredible advice. And you're right. If you can't see what's in front of you, you're not going to see the bigger picture either, probably. And I think that's what's limited our vision and our ability to really create more change. We continue to have huge problems that we don't solve. And it doesn't seem to matter whether you're a developing country or a developed country. We have very similar issues in terms of human ability to solve problems. And part of it is we haven't shared ourselves and helped them to really go about that process.
And if I may add to that, Lois, and I think it's because of the way media portrays, like, media is always trying to share, which billionaire gave away what wealth, right? And that makes us feel like, sometimes, oh, I have only like, $10,000 in my bank. Am I good enough, right? I will only take myself as as an example. And I've thought that, right? Oh, I don't have $1 billion. I don't have $10 million. Am I good enough? Am I big enough? And, at one point, and I think my turning point was in 2012 when my daughter was born, right? And that's when I started asking this question is like, what kind of a world am I going to leave behind for her, right? What am I going to basically be able to do, and how can I make that change in our environment? And that's what, that question, what can I do now, rather than waiting for that $10 million cash in my bank or be the millionaire and then do something, got me started in building Hub Dhaka, and here I am today.
Sajid, thank you so much. Your comments, I think, are so wonderful in terms of helping people begin to think, when do I start thinking about legacy? How do I do it? And for you just plain started. And I mean, it's one step at a time, isn't it? And you just simply do it. So thank you so much for your time today, for your thoughts, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you for giving me the opportunity again.
You are welcome. So we will see you on our next podcast. And if you have questions or would like to get in touch with Sajid or have comments, questions that you would like to have addressed, simply send us an email and we will be glad to make that connection for you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast today.
You've been listening to Building My Legacy podcast with Dr. Lois Sonstegard. To book your appointment with Dr. Sonstegard, visit www.buildtomorrow.com.